In a post-apocalyptic world devastated by a sudden zombie virus outbreak, only a few humans have managed to survive. But the real nightmare began when even newborns started carrying the virus. Was humanity on the brink of extinction? Let's find out in today's gripping story. Somewhere in the southern city, a boy named Mark lives deep inside a forest with his father. He has no friends, no knowledge of the outside world. His father is a quiet man who only teaches Mark two things: never leave the forest and never trust anyone outside, because the zombies out there are deadly, but the humans who survived are even more dangerous. While his father goes out to hunt during the day, Mark stays alone with a gun for protection. His world is limited to listening to old music and reading a worn-out storybook. He especially loves the tale of a magical fairy. Mark has a mysterious M mark on his hand since birth, which he believes is a symbol of magic, just like the first letter of his name. One morning, while wandering near a stream, Mark notices an old metal camper van. Suspicious and scared, he doesn't go near it, but curiosity gets the best of him, and the next day, he returns pretending to fetch water. Slowly and silently, he sneaks inside the van. Everything is tidy, toys lay neatly arranged. Someone definitely lives here. Suddenly, a shadow appears. Mark freezes in fear, but it turns out to be just another boy, his age. Surprised by the friendly gesture of the boy, Mark takes off his headphones and offers them to him. At first, the boy flinches, but as soon as he hears the soft music, he smiles. A friendship sparks instantly. The boy's name is Mickey, and he's kind and cheerful. Before leaving, Mickey even gifts Mark his favorite toy without hesitation. But on the way back, Mark senses something. Someone is watching him. Before he can hide, a woman with a gun steps out from behind the trees and stops him. But when she sees the toy in his hands, her entire tone changes. She smiles warmly and tells Mark to go home quickly. She even gives him some wild berries. That's when Mark realizes she's Mickey's mother. Watching the mother and son hug each other fills Mark with jealousy. Back home, he hides the toy and avoids telling his father anything. But he forgets to bring water, and his father scolds him. Mark, instead of reacting, runs forward and hugs him tightly, but his father pulls away without a word. Mark keeps meeting Mickey's mom in secret. Her gentle words remind him of a mother's love he never had. One night during dinner, Mark finally gathers the courage to ask about his real mother, but his father remains silent. So Mark doesn't push further. That night, he sees his father secretly watching a video outside, hiding, alone in the dark. Next morning, his father leaves as usual for hunting. But soon, strange screams and gunshots echo through the forest. He quickly tells Mark to hide and leaves with his gun. Mark ducks into the bushes and watches in silence. And that's when he sees Mickey's mother, sitting injured, not far away. Moments later, Mark's father appears with his gun and shoots her without mercy. Mark was horrified. He had never imagined his father could be so cruel. Shaken and scared, he rushed home, crawled into bed, and pretended to be asleep. When his father returned, he looked furious, muttering to himself repeatedly, "They're back! They're here!" Mark quietly put on his headphones and acted like nothing happened. But inside, a storm was brewing. That night, once his father fell asleep, Mark tiptoed to his belongings and took his camera. As he watched the footage, he saw memories of a happy family: his father, his mother, and a daughter. Mark hadn't even been born yet. In one clip, his mother looked terrified, whispering, "I love you, Mark," just before his father's angry voice erupted off-screen. The video cut off. A dark suspicion gripped Mark's heart. Did his father kill his mother? That night, Mark couldn't hold it in any longer. While his father was fast asleep, he tied him up, packed a small bag, and silently left their cabin in the woods. It didn't take him long to find Mickey. Mark begged him to run away with him. But Mickey, innocent and hopeful, wanted to wait for his mother. With a heavy heart, Mark told him the truth. Mickey didn't get angry. Instead, he hugged Mark tightly, and for the first time in his life, Mark felt what a real embrace was like. The two boys began their journey into the unknown. But suddenly, Mark froze. Years in the wild had taught him to sense danger. He quickly shoved Mickey into a bush, just as a zombie appeared. They barely escaped. Running breathlessly through the forest, they spotted an abandoned car. Without thinking, they jumped inside, but soon, a horde of zombies surrounded them. The car shook. The boys screamed, fearing the worst. Just then, gunshots rang out. One by one, the zombies dropped. The car door flung open, and there stood Mark's father. He had woken up to find Mark missing, broken free from the ropes, and used his years of tracking experience to follow his son's trail. Thankfully, he had arrived just in time. He picked Mark up and held him close, relieved his son was unharmed. But their moment of safety was short-lived. More zombie growls echoed from the woods. Without wasting a second, his father grabbed his son and ran. Mark begged him to take Mickey too, but his father ignored him. That's when Mark did something he had never done before. He pulled away and shouted at his father. For the first time ever, his father stared at him in disbelief. He wanted to explain, but the zombies were too close. So he quickly pushed Mark behind the roots of a tree to hide him and charged forward, gun blazing. Mark gathered his courage, peeked out, and saw his father fighting off zombies like a warrior, heading toward Mickey's car. In that moment, something shifted. For the first time, Mark wondered, maybe his father wasn't as heartless as he thought. Just when Mark began to think everything might be okay, a zombie stumbled toward him. It was too close. He had no time to run. Hands trembling, Mark lifted his small pistol, aimed, and fired. Hearing the shot, his father panicked. He thought the worst had happened. Sprinting up the hill, he was suddenly attacked by a zombie. He barely managed to fight it off before rushing to find Mark safe and sound. But Mark noticed something. There was a deep wound on his father's arm. His heart sank. The bite was unmistakable. His father knew it too. He took a deep breath and quietly sat down under a dry tree. He could already feel the virus beginning to take hold. Looking into Mark's eyes, he finally spoke about that day, about Mickey's mom. She was bitten, Mark. I knew she'd turn. I had no choice. Mark then took out an old photograph of his mother and asked the question he had feared all along. Did she die the same way? His father shook his head. No, your mother was different. She was like an angel. Even when the virus spread, she didn't turn. Some soldiers came and took her away. I never saw her again. For the first time, Mark realized he had misunderstood his father. He wasn't heartless. He had just buried all his pain, locked it deep inside. But it was too late now. The infection spread quickly. In his final moments of clarity, Mark's father looked at him with love and said, "Run." Mark obeyed. When he reached the old car, he found Mickey waiting inside. And just then, a single gunshot echoed from the hilltop. Mark didn't need to look back. He knew his father was gone. But something had changed inside him. His heart, once full of fear, now carried strength. He had a mission: to find his mother. The two boys, both under 10, wandered through endless forests, playing, laughing, surviving, until one day they unknowingly reached the edge of human civilization. Near an abandoned railway track, they saw an old man resting in the sun. Hungry, they asked him for food. When Mark told him they were heading toward the land where angels lived, searching for his mother, the man let out a long sigh. He wanted to help, but he couldn't go with them. His own children had all turned into zombies. He couldn't bring himself to kill them, so he kept them locked in cages. Seeing two healthy children after so many years made his eyes sparkle. Every child he had seen in the last decade had been infected. But maybe, just maybe, Mark and Mickey could change that. The boys thanked him and followed the railway track once more. Soon, they came across a broken-down train. It was the first time they had seen such a massive machine. Giddy with excitement, they explored the engine, then moved to the rear compartments, only to be greeted by a horrifying sight: zombies, dozens of them. The boys screamed and ran, but two armed men blocked their path. They were captured and taken to an abandoned factory. There, a bespectacled boss looked at the two healthy boys in disbelief. Mickey's innocent face and bright eyes made him pause. To the boss, it was as if a child angel had descended from heaven. "You said," the kind-hearted thug sets Mark free, believing that if even one more child survives, there's still a little hope left in this ruined world. But Mark is loyal. He doesn't run away alone. He waits until all the raiders are fast asleep, then sneaks into Mickey's room under the cover of darkness. Feeling their way through the shadows, the two boys quietly escape from the den of thieves. By morning, the boss in glasses realizes that his spiritual symbol has vanished. Without hesitation, he shoots the man responsible. Meanwhile, Mark scavenges supplies inside an abandoned building. For the first time, he puts on clean clothes, ready to reunite with Mickey. But just as he steps outside, he realizes they're being hunted. The boss's men have already surrounded Mickey, preparing to capture Mark too. Suddenly, a drone appears overhead, followed by a storm of bullets. Gunfire rains from above. The boss and his henchmen fall one by one. Mark rushes downstairs to see a group of soldiers emerging from a distant safe zone. He's just about to reveal himself when Mickey spots him and suddenly shakes his head, telling him not to move. Just then, one soldier walks toward Mark's hiding spot. In that instant, Mickey grabs a gun from the ground and fires into the air. He sacrifices himself to draw the soldiers away from Mark. Moments later, the bullets find him. The soldiers retreat, assuming the area is cleared. Mark collapses to his knees. First his father, now his only friend. He remembers his father's warning. The people left in this world are more dangerous than the zombies themselves. There is no fairyland, no kind, magical angels, just darkness and survival. With trembling hands, Mark rips apart the fantasy book he once believed in. Now, the only reason to keep going is to find his mother, the woman he lost so many years ago. As he enters a desolate city, once full of life, now just a jungle of hollow skyscrapers and echoing screams, Mark is no longer afraid. dodging through hordes of zombies. He pushes forward, toward the one place that might still hold a piece of his heart. Mark finally reaches the place where the photo of his mother was taken. Without hesitation, he enters the building and starts searching every room one by one. Eventually, he spots a woman standing by a large glass window, her back turned, sunlight falling gently over her. For a moment, she looks exactly like the woman in the picture, just like his mother. Mark's heart races. Slowly, he walks toward her, unable to hold back his emotions. He gently touches her hand and wraps his arms around her. But the woman doesn't turn around. Instead, she grabs his hand and bites down hard. Mark screams in horror. She wasn't his mother. She was a zombie. Terrified, Mark stumbles back and slams the glass door shut. And then, he breaks down. His tears won't stop. He had clung to this one last hope, and now, that too was gone. He didn't know what to believe anymore. Suddenly, a voice echoes from a nearby building. A broadcast plays on a loudspeaker. A virtual image gives a motivational speech, blaming the downfall of a refugee camp on the very people it tried to save. The noise draws a swarm of zombies toward the source, but Mark doesn't move. He doesn't care anymore. He has no place left in this world. He puts on his headphones and begins to pray, quietly, unaware that all around him gunfire has erupted. Zombies are being taken down, one by one. Mark finally looks up and sees dozens of laser dots on his chest. Government soldiers have arrived. One female soldier spots the bite on Mark's hand. He simply stares ahead, wishing for just one last hug from the woman he thought was his mother. But then, the soldier notices something on Mark's hand, a faint M-shaped mark. She immediately removes her helmet and shouts, "This child has the mark." Without wasting a second, she rushes toward Mark and takes him to safety. The film doesn't reveal much about the mark, but it means one thing: those who carry it are immune to zombie bites. This film isn't just about zombies. It's the emotional journey of a child, his fears, his heartbreak, and the tiny thread of hope that somehow keeps him going. If you felt this story in your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.